sentencing proceedings in the case against former Parktown Boys High School assistant water polo coach Collan Rex are expected to get underway. That's in the Palm Ridge Magistrate's Court today.
Now, Rex was found guilty of 144 counts of sexual assault and 12 of common assault against 12 schoolboys. Our colleague, eNCA reporter Khayelihle Khumalo, is following that case for us. Khayelihle, good morning. Well, sentencing proceedings start, and usually they would involve some arguments in mitigation as we begin this. And this has been really a case that has caught the imagination of a large part of our society.
Well, by all means, Bradan, it has, and given the very seriousness of the charges, but already we know that the accused was just facing litany of charges, just about 300 and odd charges, but that number has just come down dramatically to about 144 charges of sexual assault and about 12 common assault charges as well. And we know that there are about 12 boys who have just come forward and confessed, and by all means it's bound to be a very long day here at the Palm Ridge Magistrate's Courts, the High Court sitting here in the Magistrate's Courts, and also just given the very the gravity of the situation at hand, Braden, we understand that some of the victims have really just been going through a very traumatic period, coming to terms with the incidents, and we know it's dating back between 2015 and 2016. But from the side of the accused, Braden, he has been really consistent in saying, well, at times he was really just having a horseplay with some of these boys. So something really concerning for the parents.
Well, of course, he has pleaded guilty, as we know, Kaya, and it will be anxious for them, like you say, because they will want justice, especially with boys this young. But what is the prosecution, or what has the prosecution been asking for in terms of punishment?
Well, by all means, the prosecutors have been very consistent in what they demand. So we know that when you look at this particular case, it's anything just between 10 years or above. So the NPA has been really just consistent in saying they want to make sure that a very clear example is set on this particular case. But the school itself, it's been really vocal in making sure that it's really just availing itself and allowing even, for example, the Education Department in Gauteng to commission a report which really just table very, very startling findings. But also, more than that, Yuveka, for the boys really to come forward. I mean, there was one particular case where a parent was stating that for the past 3 years or so, she was not able really to see her son because after this particular incident, the boy had a very abnormal behavior. He was smoking a lot of marijuana, and the behavior really changed, and she had to leave her job and really support her son, given the very trauma that he sustained and not really able to cope with the circumstances at hand. So there's that hope of hoping to see that justice will certainly prevail.
Khayelihle, very briefly, as we end here ahead of this sentencing proceedings today, some civil society groups have expressed their support for the boys and taking action against what has happened in Parktown Boys. Do we expect any presence of them in court today from what you've been able to gather?
Well, from the outset of this particular case, Braden, there has been a lot of lobby groups who have been really vocal, especially about the bullying incidents. So for now, it's still quiet. We're expecting perhaps some lobby groups may come here. We know, for example, the bikers against the bullies, they used to come in court with their bikes and really just sending a crystal message that this cannot be allowed. But also, more importantly, commiserating with these young boys. We know that at times there's a lot of stigma attached to one coming forward saying one was really sexually groomed by another man. So there's still a great deal of stigmatization that is attached to that. So there has been a lot of groups that have been vocal and also calling for the accused really to face the full might of the law.
Thank you very much, Khayelihle Khumalo.